Coming up on this Friday edition of Daybreak, determined to make a breakthrough, Pyongyang expresses hope the two Koreas will be able to end the impasse next week when they meet to discuss the suspended inter-Korean factory park at North Korea's border town of Gaeseong. The government has revamped the country's tax code that increases taxes on high-income earners and levies taxes on religious leaders currently exempt from taxation. The revised bills will be submitted to Parliament next month. Plus, after resuming the long-stalled peace talks last week in Washington, Israeli and Palestinian negotiators will meet again in Jerusalem next Wednesday to seek a peaceful solution to their decades-long dispute. Daybreak begins now.
You're watching Daybreak on Friday, August 9th, and I'm Choi Yusan here in Seoul. North Korea ended its 9-day silence this week by responding to South Korea's ultimatum to carry on talks to seek a solution to their suspended Gaeseong industrial complex. While in a rare message to Seoul on Thursday, Pyongyang said it hoped that the two Koreas will be able to find a way to end the 4-month-long deadlock when they meet for their 7th round of negotiations next Wednesday. Analysts say it's unusual for the North to express such anticipation, which goes to show how much Pyongyang wants to normalize operations at the business park. One of the biggest issues on the table is which side should guarantee the prevention of another shutdown. While Seoul argues Pyongyang should since it unilaterally forced the suspension back in April, Pyongyang wants both sides to do so. And for further analysis on the factors that likely spurred Pyongyang's sudden openness to talks, here's our Hwang Sung-hee.
With fresh hopes for a swift normalization of their jointly run factory zone in the north, the two Koreas will return to the negotiating table next Wednesday. Experts say North Korea's surprise offer to hold a 7th round of talks on reopening the Gaeseong industrial complex shows its determination to save the joint business park. The proposal came just an hour after Seoul announced that it would hand out insurance payments to more than 100 South Korean companies with operations in Gaeseong. Once the businesses receive the money, the government acquires the rights to the company's assets at the border town, and many saw the move as Seoul's first step towards a complete closure of the factory park. Pundits say North Korea probably thought likewise and rushed in with its proposal for dialogue. The joint business park has been a source of hard currency for the cash-strapped nation, raking in around $80 million in workers' salaries per year. An upcoming joint military exercise between South Korea and the United States, scheduled to begin on August 19th, may have been another factor that made the North anxious. Once the military drills begin, tensions could rise again on the Korean peninsula, sweeping away the current momentum for talks. But some remain skeptical about Pyongyang's motives, saying that North Korea has not changed its stance on the issue of providing safeguards against future closures of the complex. They say the North may be crafting an excuse to blame Seoul if the complex faces a complete closure, and would likely say that it tried its best to save the last remaining symbol of inter-Korean economic cooperation. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
President Park Geun-hye reportedly has no plans to grant any special pardons to mark Korea's Liberation Day on August 15th. Officials at the presidential office said Thursday that if President Park were going to use her clemency power next week, preparations would have already been underway. They add the issue has not even come up during meetings. In the past, Korean presidents have often issued pardons to commemorate important holidays, something President Park was highly critical of when she was a candidate in last year's presidential election. The government has finished revising the nation's tax code as it seeks to generate more revenue to finance a list of social projects. From raising taxes on the rich to taxing religious leaders who used to be exempt from taxation, our Kim Young-gil reports on the new system.
The Korean government announced the tax code overhaul on Thursday, signaling major changes to come in how tax is configured and who will shoulder a larger share of the burden.
We've revised the tax law to put high-income earners into a higher tax bracket.
But experts say it's salaried workers who may suffer the most. The government estimates that around 4.3 million workers will see their taxes increase starting next year. People whose annual incomes range from $36,000 to $62,000 will have to pay an average of $143 more in taxes. The figure will rise to $296 and $880 for people with incomes of $62,000 to $72,000 a year, and $72,000 to $80,000 respectively. Those who earn more than $270,000 a year will have to pay an average of $7,000 more in taxes next year.
I think the government is taking advantage of salaried workers. There are so many other people who should be paying tax.
The government has also decided to impose taxes on earnings by monks, priests, and other religious leaders starting in 2015. The decision puts an end to 45 years of controversy over whether religious leaders should pay tax. Members of the clergy are currently exempt from taxation, as their work is regarded not as labor but as a spiritual service. The government needs to revise or amend 15 related tax laws for the new tax code to go into effect, and it plans to submit the 15 revision proposals to both the Cabinet and the National Assembly for a vote between August and September. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
No big surprises at the nation's central bank on Thursday as the Bank of Korea left its key interest rate unchanged for the third straight month in August. Our economics correspondent Hwang Ji-ae reports.
The Bank of Korea kept its key interest rate steady for the third straight month in August, as most had expected. Following its monthly monetary policy meeting on Thursday, the central bank left the rate unchanged at 2.5%, saying the economy at home is expected to continue on the path to recovery in the coming months.
The domestic economy is sustaining its moderate pace of recovery, with exports rising 2.6% in July from the same period a year earlier.
The Korean economy grew 1.1% in the April to June period from the previous quarter, rising above 1% for the first time in 9 quarters. The central bank said that the growth came on the heels of its rate cut in May and parliamentary approval of a plan to supplement the state budget. It went on to say, however, that the U.S. Federal Reserve's possible stimulus pullback and the slowing Chinese economy could have a negative impact on Korea.
Once the Federal Reserve's stimulus tapering goes into effect, there is a possibility for foreign investment funds to rush out of the Korean market. This could raise the market's interest rate.
The country's inflation rate, meanwhile, remained in the 1% range for the 9th straight month in July, running far below the central bank's 2.5% to 3.5% target band. Experts expect the central bank to hold its key interest rate at 2.5% throughout the year if the nation's economy manages to sustain its current pace of recovery. Hwang Ji-ae, Arirang News.
It's been a little over a month since the launch of Korea's new stock market, the Korea New Exchange, or KONEX, designed specifically for startup companies in the country. It was launched as part of President Park Geun-hye's push to create an environment where fledgling businesses can flourish. So how is the market doing 1 month in? Our Yoo Ri-an has the figures.
What you're seeing is the production process of an ingot, aluminum heated past its melting point and molded into bars that can later be used to make bicycles or auto parts. The manufacturer of these ingots is Standard Firm, a startup that is preparing to get listed on the tech-heavy Kosdaq market. The company's shares jumped by more than 6-fold after being listed on the KONEX last month.
We are planning to get listed on Kosdaq, but we feel that KONEX is a good opportunity for us to practice before moving up. We are learning a lot, particularly through our contacts with investors.
Like standard firms, startups welcome the creation of their own market. The United States has its thriving Silicon Valley, but over here in Korea, there's the so-called Death Valley. The term was coined to describe the many fledgling companies which can't acquire the necessary funds to expand and end up going bust. That's because unlike Silicon Valley, there's no ecosystem in Korea to support entrepreneurs as they turn their ideas into businesses. As a result, most startups have to rely on bank loans, thereby increasing their interest burden. So the Konex is a means of saving fledgling companies from heavy debt burdens. But in its first month, the Konex's trading volume was very low. And of the 21 listed companies, only 2 saw their stocks traded on a daily basis.
Limited trading activity is expected at this point. There are only 21 companies listed on the Konex right now, but the government's plan is to increase that number to at least 50 by the end of the year. We need more companies to boost trading.
For that to happen, he says, the government needs to give tax breaks and other incentives to venture capitalists and investors so they can start putting their money into startups. Yurian, Arirang News.
If you want the latest news from Korea and around the world.
Return to the negotiations.
President Park Geun-hye planned, given the current circumstances.
On your way to work or at home.
Defense Ministry. The legislature will convene a.
Tune into Daybreak on Arirang TV.
Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said Tuesday that Moving on to the ongoing peace talks in the Middle East. Israel and Palestine will continue their negotiations next Wednesday in Jerusalem. The talks will be followed by another round in the West Bank, according to the U.S. State Department on Thursday. These talks follow the first round of discussions in Washington last month, a meeting described by U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry as a very special moment that saw Palestinian leaders break the traditional fast for Ramadan. The second round, however, comes as Israel approved the construction of more than 800 homes in Jewish settlements on occupied West Bank land, a region where the Palestinians seek statehood. Israel's move is expected to complicate the peace talks. The Japanese government has appointed Japan's ambassador to France, Ichiro Komatsu, as Director General of the country's Cabinet Legislation Bureau. Komatsu's appointment on Thursday is seen as a move by Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to challenge the interpretation of the Constitution. Komatsu is an advocate of revising the understanding of the Constitution, more specifically to lift the nation's ban on its right to collective defense. Put simply, he wants to allow Japan to come to defense if one of its allies comes under attack, even if Japan has not been attacked. The move is of grave concern to Japan's neighbors, such as Korea and China, who don't want to see a more military assertive Japan. Have you ever wished your car had wings to fly whenever you're stuck in heavy traffic? Well, that dream of yours may just come true sooner than you might think. Our Kim Min-ji has the details on a futuristic flying vehicle that made its debut recently.
Let's take a glimpse at what Earth would look like in the year 2084. This vehicle can fly between buildings, descend vertically, and rotate at a miraculous speed. What you see now is a first flying car developed for commercial use. As the vehicle lands, it folds its wings, turns into a regular car, and speeds down the road. The transition, a car that can change into a plane, aims to make the dream of flying cars possible.
It was neat how quick you could switch between the two. We were making jokes about how, traffic seems to be too big of a burden. You just take off.
The flying car, created by U.S. car manufacturer Terrafugia, was unveiled to the public for the first time during a 10-minute demo at an air show in the U.S. last week. It can accommodate up to 4 passengers and can reach a speed of 185 kilometers per hour in the air and 100 kilometers per hour on the ground.
Well, in terms of the safety precautions, the transition is designed to meet both federal motor vehicle safety standards for driving on the road. So that includes things like you have to have safety cage, crumple zones, airbags, the sorts of features that you have in a modern car today. In addition, we have to meet the ASTM standards for light sport aircraft.
The flying car is still in development, but around 100 people have already made reservations for the vehicle when it launches in 2016. The purchase price of the transition is expected to be around $300,000. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Homelessness is a widespread social problem that affects every country in the world. But a unique annual sporting event aims to bring hope and change to individuals who have first-hand experience in the hardships of poverty. The Homeless World Cup will be hosted in Poland this year, and Korea's team is prepared to showcase their skills in the global arena. Our Paul Lee shows us more.
Ji Young-hyun has been living on the streets of Seoul for more than 5 years, fighting to survive the harsh realities of homelessness. But today, he's practicing as part of the national futsal team that will head to Europe this weekend to represent Korea in this year's Homeless World Cup. The international sports competition boasts some 250,000 players worldwide from the richest and poorest nations. Ji says his participation has helped him overcome challenges and that he looks forward to a better tomorrow.
Before I started playing futsal, I used to be the kind of person that blamed others and held negative views 99% of the time. But now I've put an end to the negativity and started to think positively. Since then, things have gotten better day by day and I feel more at peace with myself.
Mel Young, the founder of the Homeless World Cup, says the most important aspect of the event is the psychological change within individuals. The supportive atmosphere not only promotes fitness, but also encourages personal development. It instills a sense of pride to work for a greater cause, and eventually helps players find a way out of poverty.
The players and I have fought very hard to build our confidence, but just getting to this point is quite something. Even if there's little fight left in our bodies, we need to push on. It's because of these small victories we've learned that we now have the will to keep fighting.
The 11th Homeless World Cup will kick off August 10th in Poznan, Poland, under the slogan, "A ball can change the world." Organizers hope the event will help rebuild lives and allow players to break the cycle of homelessness toward a better and more hopeful future. Paul Yi, Arirang News.
And a good Friday morning to you all as we begin with international football. Now, earlier this week, PSV finalized a deal with the Queen's Park Rangers that would have Park Ji-sung on loan for the upcoming season. And just yesterday, the loan deal was made official as he was introduced to the media. Now, for the first time in 8 years, the South Korean midfielder comes back to the Netherlands as he was introduced in front of the media. Now, the one-year loan deal will have him back to where he first started in Europe, where the fan base for Park is still huge. Meanwhile, just moments after the introduction, the South Korean joined the team for training with PSV. And staying in football, it's no surprise that the current South Korean national football team still needs a lot of fixing before the upcoming Brazil World Cup. But the recent FIFA rankings show that it's pretty serious. Now, the latest FIFA rankings have Korea dropping 13 spots since the last ranking, as they're now ranked 56th in the world. Now, the reason behind the latest drop has to do with the East Asian Cup, where Korea finished in 4th place after going winless with 2 draws and a loss. Meanwhile, Japan holds on to their top Asian ranking at 37th overall, and Australia dropped 6 spots at 46th overall. And moving on to some Thursday night KBO action as all 4 games went on into action despite the tropical weather, and the Samsung Lions, after taking a few days off, crushed the Hanwha Eagles 10-3, where Samsung's Bae-Young-soo earned his 111th win of his career, surpassing Kim Si-jin for the most wins for a Samsung pitcher. Also, the SK Wyverns beat the struggling Nexen Heroes 4-1. So with that said, let's move on to the other games here, starting off with the LG Twins taking on the Lotte Giants. Of course, going into the game here, second inning of the game, Son Ju-in RBI single to left field, 1-0 LG Twins. Stays that way until the 5th inning here. Lotte's Chun Jun-woo RBI single to center, ties the ball game 1 apiece. And we go over to the same inning here. Park Yong-taek this time, he's going to send this one to right field. The ball is dropped, and here comes the base runner circling, and he is safe. Puts LG back up 2-1. Next inning, here's Hwang Jae-kyung once again, singles to center field. This brings home 2 base runners as Lotte takes the lead 3-2. And we go over to the 7th inning here. Lotte continues to swing away. Chun Jun-woo once again. RBI double makes it 4-2 Lotte Giants, before Chung-hoon of the Lotte Giants adds to the lead with an RBI single to left, 5-2 Lotte Giants. But bottom of the inning, here comes the LG Twins once again. Bases loaded, Yoon Yo-sup sac fly to left, scores a run here. Before this next play here, he's been red hot this season. Park Yong-taek at bat, RBI single cuts the deficit 5-4. Now it's a close game, but the Lotte Giants still end up hanging on. 5-4 your final score, as Lotte now trails Nexen by just a half game. And next up, the Kia Tigers taking on the NC Dinos here. Second inning, Lee Hong-gu at bat. A wild pitch scores the first run of the game, 1-0 Kia Tigers. Now third inning of the game, An Chi-yong at bat. RBI single to left. Kia takes a 2-0 lead. Same inning, here comes the NC Dinos. Mo Chang-min, RBI double to left. Cuts the deficit here before former SK man Lee Ho-jun ties it up with a sac fly to left. And it's a brand new ball game. Fourth inning, number 9 hitter Lee Hong-gu at bat sends one deep to right. 3-2 Kia Tigers. Now we're going to shift over to the 7th inning of the game here. Kia up 4-2. No Jin Hyuk's RBI double makes it 4-3 Kia. Before this next play, 8th inning of the game, NC super rookie Na Sung-bum deep to right. Back. Game tied 4-4. Now both teams do go scoreless until the bottom of the 12th inning. 2-man on. Kim Sung-wook singles to left, and that's the ball game. NC rallies to win this one, 5-4, your final score. And now finishing things off with the 2013 Asian Basketball Championships. After breezing through in the round of 12, South Korea begins their next challenge, the quarterfinals of the event. And coming up next for the 4-1 South Korea will be Qatar. And just like the South Korean team, Qatar has a 4-1 record as they finish 3rd in their group. And while Qatar isn't known to be powerhouses in the sport, they do have the height advantage over the Koreans, as the two nations are set to face off later tonight. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great weekend, everyone, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Happy Friday morning to you guys. I'm Lee Ji-hyun with your latest weather updates. So Ulsan was the hottest city yesterday. Temperature hiking up to 38.8 degrees Celsius, and even some parts of Ulsan reached 40 degrees Celsius. So the brutal heat wave baking much of the country brought record-breaking temperature yesterday, including here in Seoul at 32.8. Now the combination of hot temperatures and high humidity is likely to continue today, and this condition is creating some dangerous situation as more than 400 people visited hospital due to heat illness for the last couple of months, so please take a good care of yourself. Now, will things get any cooler today? Well, not really. We'll have shower in Seoul and the surrounding areas. In fact, it's raining right now, but that should taper off towards the midday. But the temperature should a couple of degrees lower than yesterday, so heat wave advisory has been lifted here in Seoul today, whereas down in South should have nothing but sunshine all day long, and heat wave warning should remain. Now tomorrow we do expect another rain in Seoul, Incheon and Gyeonggi province and on and off throughout the day, but blistering heat will continue to bake the nations through the weekend. Now this morning we are looking at clouds coverage in the northern parts of central region, so we are waking up to overcast skies and it's dropping showers, so you might need an umbrella on your morning commute. And today will continue to be under the influence of the high pressure system from the North Pacific, and that's been giving us damp and muggy air. So with that, let's take a closer look at today's readings. Now the capital will hike up to 31 degrees Celsius, that's 88 degrees Fahrenheit, and Daegu will continue to bake under the serious heat at 37, and Busan will get up to 33. Now let's see how other regions are looking. It looks like Jeju and Daejeon will climb up to 35, while Dokdo and Mount Kumgang will be topping out at 33 and 34. Now that's all for me at this hour. Have a great Friday, and back to you, Yusan, in the studio.
Thank you, Jiyeon. And those are the stories we have for you at this hour. Stay with us throughout the day as we bring you the latest headlines.